Okay. Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Stella Waithera, and I am the team lead of Africa STEM Summit, a 3-day summit that is curated to inspire, mentor, guide, and expose individuals to the technical skills they will need at every level of their career journeys, from junior to intermediate to senior level. The goal of this summit is to bridge the skills and gender gap in STEM, which in full means sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You can be able to follow the speaker using the link to their LinkedIn that is attached to the description of this video. You can also follow the conversation of the Africa STEM Summit using the hashtag Africa STEM Summit and also tagging us at African STEM Summit. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over the mic to Samson, who is going to be taking us through navigating the cybersecurity landscape. So welcome. Hi, Samson.
Hi, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Fantastic having each one of us on this particular call today. It is, I'm humbled to be one of the speakers whom I'm going to take you through navigating how this cybersecurity landscape. And maybe to get started, I'll be sharing my screen. At least we get to move together, but I believe everyone is okay. Everyone has joined this link. And in case of any questions, in case of any clarifications that we might need within this session, you'll be able to just chat in our chat box, and we'll be able to get it sorted. So today we are going to have this session, at least for for about 2 hours, and we get to understand how best we can be able to navigate these cybersecurity landscape, and in career-wise, what are the courses which we may be able to might give us an inch when it comes to job opportunities in this Kenyan market. So as I set up these, because I want to share my screen, let me do this. Okay, there it goes. And if you'll be able to see my screen, you'll just give a heads up on the chat box. That's if you'll be able to see my screen. Anybody who can confirm for me? Okay, let me go back here. Okay, I believe you can be able to see my screen. Then we'll get started. So I believe each one of us is doing well. There we go. A moderator, I don't know if you can be able to see my screen as we move together. Okay, then because I don't have any feedback, then you'll allow me just to continue so that you can be following even as we do this presentation today. So to get us started with this presentation, it is cybersecurity is one of the areas which is getting a very wide interest when it comes to careers in the Kenyan market. And I would like to say that in this market, when we are talking about cybersecurity, one of the things that makes it a very interesting career is that if I can give you a scenario, maybe one day if you wake up and maybe you have an Instagram account, you might be having maybe your WhatsApp account, you might be having maybe your TikTok account, and you wake up one day just to find that maybe somebody has spread some rumors about maybe you, some wrong information about maybe you, some immoral content has been spread about you. It will be something that will be demoralizing, something that will give you a very bad attitude towards maybe say the social media platforms. And maybe if you wake up one day just to find maybe your bank accounts have been compromised, and maybe some of the amounts which you have in the account have been stolen, it might take you aback when it comes to the issue of your privacy. And the reason why cybersecurity is getting more concern in the Kenyan market and even in the worldwide market and East Africa is because comes to issues concerning your privacy, and it gives you an inch when it comes to what you are sharing to people, what you are giving out to people. And maybe if you wake up one day maybe to be called by your parents and been told that I'm seeing some immoral content in your maybe Facebook account, it will be something that will shock you. So in cybersecurity, when we are going to have this discussion, it's going to open our eyes and be able to understand that it is one of the areas which most companies nowadays are interested in. And being a cybersecurity engineer and where I am today, I can say that for sure, this is a career which is giving more light when it comes to getting an inch in the market. So I can say that as we are going to tackle this, it is evident even in the Kenyan market from the cyber attacks which you have had in the recent days. We can talk about even the e-citizen account, which you are going to have a hands-on experience today on how we can be able to identify these kind of issues in the market. So this is a practical thing that is happening. The attacks are happening. The e-citizen was attacked, and we experienced some challenge accessing the portals. And we can talk about even the recent one in Kenya, that is JKA, which had some breach in terms of its data, and some documents were compromised. So we can say that in Kenya, there is that need for cybersecurity experts, cybersecurity engineers, cybersecurity analysts, cybersecurity, hackers that can give us that capability to be able to safeguard against these threats in the Kenyan market. So another thing now, when we are talking about cybersecurity and we are getting started for this session, I can say that the main thing that we can be able to start with, maybe I can ask one question, maybe, is there a password which you usually use? Is there a password which mostly you have and you think it is highly secure and you use it most of the time? Just think of that password which you use most of the time. I want you to just pick a paper and a pen and be able to note it down. I want you to think of that password and write it down. And the next thing I want you to do is that be able to write areas where you are using that password, be it maybe your TikTok account, be it your Facebook account, be it your Twitter account. I want you to write beside that password, write the areas where you are using that password. And maybe if you can be able to just chat in, send a text right in the chat box, maybe how many accounts are using the same password. And if I may know, I may ask, how is the composition of your password? What are you using? Are you using just numbers? Are you using maybe just letters? Are you using maybe special characters? How is your composition of that password? That's the area now we're going to talk about, the password paradox. When it comes to security, these simple things that we might be using daily, they add up to the bigger goal of cybersecurity security. And when it comes to the area of how we need to safeguard this data, then we need to understand that cybersecurity is one of the core areas which is being used, be it in all the industries, financial industry, manufacturing industry, education industry. Maybe another thing we can talk about, maybe the there is this area of the catering industry, that is tourism and hospitality. All the areas, they need this kind of cybersecurity to be able to stay to stay at the edge and be able to safeguard against these threats that come and the vulnerabilities that we are exposed to. Maybe, I know most of us, we have written that password, and how do you feel about the password which you have? Is it secure? Is it a password which you can be able to say that indeed you have safeguarded it? Does it contain your name? Does it contain maybe your date of birth? Does it contain maybe, what other common thing can we talk about? Maybe your mobile number. These are the areas which mostly hackers use to be able to get and compromise you. So I think even as we navigate this area of cybersecurity, we need to understand that it is a core area which is very critical in the current job market, and most employers, they're looking for competent people who can be able to manage these kind of issues when they arise. Now, the next thing which I can be able to maybe to take us to is, maybe I've talked about is stored, there is sensitive information which is stored there, and it needs protection. So that's why it is very important to have cybersecurity experts who can be able to give us that security when it comes to these kind of environments. Then another thing I can maybe pinpoint, even as we get this ball rolling, is that cybersecurity is the practice of protecting our computers, networks, devices, and data from unauthorized access. So when you are doing this work, maybe you have a laptop, you have your phone, cybersecurity is the act of ensuring that data that is sitting in that device is protected, and nobody is accessing it without proper authorization. And this can be achieved through one of the areas which you have talked about, the password paradox. So even as we are moving along, it is I need to be clear that cybersecurity, it is one of the critical areas most employers are looking into, and we need to purpose to be able to get those right skills to give us an edge in defending this kind of environments. And maybe to remind us, maybe if there is any question and clarifications, I'd request my moderator, you can put it up when it comes along. So now, when we are talking again about cybersecurity, I can say that cybersecurity is made up of about 3 pillars, which give it the backbone of the cybersecurity arena. That is the CIA triad. Now, when we are talking about the CIA triad, we are talking about one area which entails confidentiality. We are talking about another area which entails integrity, and we are talking about another area which entails availability. So when we are talking about cybersecurity, we are talking about 3 main areas which we need to be able to equip ourselves enough knowledge on them. So confidentiality, and I think even as we are going to proceed, we're going to touch on it. And when we are talking about these 3 pillars, confidentiality is the act of ensuring that nobody who is unauthorized is accessing your private data. So when we are employing cybersecurity experts, cybersecurity engineers, cybersecurity architects, we are saying that we want these architects to enable different organizations to be able to safeguard what is private to them. They want to be able to we want these cybersecurity experts to be able to protect those private data that different organizations they have. It can be maybe the copyright, it can be maybe there is this digital certificates which we have, and when you have access to them, they can compromise maybe private data. So confidentiality is one of the areas which is very critical, which you can't miss talking about when it comes to cybersecurity. So another pillar which we're going to touch on today is about integrity. So for you to be able to make a very profound, a very detailed decision on what career you need to take, then you need to be sure that this pillar of integrity is one of the areas which you should be remembering wherever you go. When you go maybe for an interview for career, for cybersecurity job, they'll ask you maybe what are the main areas, maybe the pillars of cybersecurity. So integrity is one of the areas which you can't miss talking about when it comes to protecting your data. So guaranteed data remains accurate and unaltered wherever it is being presented. So integrity, it is the act of ensuring that the data that is being stored, it is accurate. No modifications have been made, nothing has been changed within the data, and it is up to date as it being provided. Nothing has already been altered from the original data that was being stored or is being processed. So the other pillar which I'm going to touch on is the availability of data. And cybersecurity, one of the main goals is to ensure that whatever this expert is going to safeguard, it is available wherever it's needed. So I can give you an example. Maybe in your school, maybe you have in your college where you are, and maybe where you are going, where you are, and maybe if you haven't joined, you are going to join. When we are talking about availability, it means that the data, maybe that portal which you are accessing every day, the cybersecurity expert is going to ensure that that portal, maybe it is a library resource which you want to access, that resource is available wherever you need it. Be it maybe this resource is supposed to be available 24/7, then you can be able to access that resource wherever you need it. That is, be it midnight, you can be able to access that resource. There is no downtime, there is no maybe unreachable site. So cybersecurity ensures that anything that is needed by the processor, the owner of the data, should be availed wherever it is needed, and maybe even in the format which is needed. So without forgetting, I want you to note down that there are three pillars which are making up cybersecurity, and which most of the employers, they are looking people who have skills into them. So one is confidentiality, the second one is integrity, and the third one is availability. That is the thing which we call CIA triad. CIA triad, as I've already mentioned, it is the critical area which each one of us, each of the employers is looking into. So once you are forging forward and looking to enrich yourself with cybersecurity skills, then if you are asked to explain what is cybersecurity, if you are asked to talk in detail about what are the pillars, then I believe you are going to talk about the CIA triad. It is one of the main areas of cybersecurity. So a quick recap, even as we continue on, we are talking about navigating the cybersecurity landscape. And I can say that even as we have started, it has given us the reason why we need to protect our data is that we are in an environment with full of threats. We are in an environment with full of vulnerabilities. And that's why we have even touched on some few examples. These things, they are happening in our backyard. Maybe even if you're in Kenya and even in East Africa, these things are happening in our environment. They're affecting us, and we need to be able to have the right skills in the room to be able to defend against them. Now, the next thing I've said is that in even your personal data, that is now the reason why you need to have these right skills in place is that you, even from the basic thing about the passwords which you use, you need to be able to identify which is the strongest password which you need to use. And now maybe even as I continue to give that recap is that for a strong password to be very protective, at least you need to have even at least about, okay, most of the people, they say almost a list of about 8 components which make up a strong password, but I'm going to give about 4, which I know they're the main ones. At least your password, make it as long as possible, maybe at least 8, 10 characters, it is well. And now the combination of what characters you use, ensure that you have either upper and lower case. It gives you an inch when it comes to maybe somebody hacking your password. Maybe when you are again making this decision, ensure that at least you have either you have both letters and maybe you have as well numbers. This to give you a good touch. Maybe you will prolong the time of the hacker getting to breach on your password. Then another thing which is very critical when it comes to strong passwords, and I believe you can be able to take note of this, is that use a combination of special characters, maybe an hash sign, maybe a star sign, maybe another thing which I can talk about is maybe an exclamation mark. This will give you an extra protection. Every password we say it can be hacked at the end of the day, but there is the issue here is how long is it going to take an hacker to be able to hack your password. So to ensure that you're prolonging that time frame for the hacker to get into your password, ensure that you have at least 4 combination of things. Quick recap: I have letters, uppercase and lowercase. Both of them are a combination of them. Ensure that your password is at least 8. If it is a minimum, at least 10, even 16. The longer the password, the stronger it is. Then another thing, ensure that you have a combination of letters as well as numbers. The other thing, again, ensure that you have a special character in the password. This will give you an inch. So the next thing I've touched on, it is what is cybersecurity. And as I've already mentioned, it is that cybersecurity is an act of safeguarding the digital data, be it sitting in different devices, be it computers, be it phones, safeguarding and digital data wherever it is. So the act of cybersecurity is ensuring that no unauthorized person is accessing your private data at any time wherever you are storing it. So be it you are storing it in the cloud, be it you are storing it in your local hard disk, maybe in your phone, nobody should be able to access that data without your permission. So that is a brief explanation about what is cybersecurity. And lastly, I've talked about the main 3 pillars of cybersecurity, and I've said the 3 main pillars of cybersecurity. One is we call them the CIA triad, and the CIA, it is abbreviation for C means confidentiality, and maybe if you are writing, you can be able to just write them as I'm explaining. C, it means confidentiality. I, it means integrity, and A, it means availability. So these 3, they are the main pillars of cybersecurity. And the first question is, in this kind of a test. So a test on CIA triad. And the first question will be, and I think we can write in the chat box, and later on we can be able to get on it and I can see your answers. So the first question is, a hacker steals credit card details from an online store. This is an hacker stealing credit card details from an online store. What area of, or maybe what pillar of cybersecurity is it touching on? This is a credit card. It is something that is very confidential and is something that nobody should access. So what pillar of cybersecurity is it addressing? Then another thing which I can be able to ask is the second line item, because we had 3 pillars, I had 3 questions for each one of us. So the second question is, malware modifies financial records on a company computer. Now, maybe you have your computer wherever it is sitting, and you have a malware manipulating maybe your project proposal. Maybe you'll be able, when you are trying to access the proposal, you get that whatever you're accessing is not accessible. Maybe it is unreadable. It is in unreadable format. What area of cybersecurity pillars are we talking about when somebody is has had access to your personal data and has modified it, and now it is not readable anymore? The other question which I can ask, even as we continue writing on our chat box, is that a cyber attack takes down a critical government website during an election. And maybe in Kenya, we are having an election, and maybe now, those polling stations and everything, there are some things which are being run online, because I know even the results were being transmitted online. And maybe you get that during that era, during that period of transmitting the information, and I think even in Kenya it has happened some time back, you get that there are some redundancies. There is that issue of maybe there is a delay in the transmission of these kind of results. So this kind of a compromise, what pillar of cybersecurity is it touching on? Now you can write your answers as from number 1 to number 3. Number 1 is talking about your credit card privacy details, and the second one is compromising your financial records, and maybe the last one is maybe a website is down. So these are the 3 areas which I wanted to test you on cybersecurity, and I believe all of us, we have sent some feedback so that we be able to gauge our understanding on today's topic, navigating cybersecurity landscape. And now, as we have already touched on these areas, I would like to just get us going. Now that is the test on CIA triad. I had those questions. If you didn't note them down, you can see them there. And now the other thing which I would like to move into is the impact on personal and professional security. So cybersecurity, even as I hinted earlier, is that cybersecurity affects both individual life as well as professional life. That's what professional life. That's why we say that cybersecurity is, we need all of us, be it you are maybe a doctor, be it maybe you are a pharmacist, be it maybe you are a civil engineer, be it any career which you take. Cybersecurity is one of the key areas which we need to study and have some basic understanding on how it works. So that's why even most organizations, they are looking for competent cybersecurity experts to give them an insight on how they should be able to maintain their privacy and confidentiality. That's where we have cybersecurity trainings, and even in Kenya, the regulations require that every employee receives at least 2 trainings per year on the area of cybersecurity. And this is to ensure that, because you own a phone, you own maybe a bank account, you own maybe a credit card, you own maybe what else, you access the eCitizen account, you have those private details which you don't want them to be exposed. That's why cybersecurity, it comes in handy when it comes to what is being secured, be it personal and be it for an organization. That's why it is very important for both of us. That's why we are talking now about the impact of cybersecurity on a personal level and a professional level. And I can say that as technology becomes increasingly integrated into our personal and professional lives, the need to protect ourselves and our organization from cyber threats has never been more critical than even today. So when we are talking about maybe the area of personal security, we are talking about maybe losing your identity. That is maybe your ID number. Maybe you have lost your password to maybe your equity, the equity account, and now we are doing on mobile banking, and maybe you have lost something that is very crucial to you. So cyber criminals can steal personal information from social media, from maybe for your credit cards, for your login credentials, through maybe phishing emails, maybe somebody, you receive a phishing email requesting maybe a prompt action, and it's requiring maybe you to input your credit card number. It requires you to put in maybe your password. And as I've already mentioned, most people, they use the same password for many platforms. So it is work of the hacker to be able to just try to use that password to get into other platforms which you're using. So it is very crucial for you to be able to safeguard your personal identity. This information can be used maybe at least to access maybe those critical platforms like your bank account, maybe your government portals, which should remain very confidential. The other thing is that for personal security, there is that privacy breaches. So maybe I can ask is that because most of us, we use maybe WhatsApp, we use maybe Twitter, we use maybe what other else platform can I talk about? Twitter, TikTok. Maybe imagine one day you just wake up and find that somebody has gotten into your Twitter handle, and maybe you are having a private conversation about maybe something about your family. Maybe let's talk about maybe your health. Maybe you have a clinical disease which you have never desired somebody to know. And one day you wake up to find that maybe somebody had hacked into your Twitter account, maybe had hacked into your WhatsApp account, and has already infringed your data, has taken that critical, has known about your critical disease, and now he posts it on maybe your other platforms. And the people may not understand that this was posted by a hacker, but they believe that this information is coming from you. So something about privacy breaches, it is something that all of us we should be taking care of. And cybersecurity experts there to ensure that at least this privacy is well protected at all times. So this is one also of the critical areas why we are studying about cybersecurity, and why we need cybersecurity experts even in the current market. Different organizations now, they have gone online. They're either in LinkedIn, they're either in Twitter, they're either in Facebook. All these accounts, cybersecurity professionals, they're needed to protect them. And as technology changes, maybe one thing I can hint to you, as technology changes, everything is changing. So the old people who are in the market, maybe cybersecurity experts in the 1990s, they can't be able to safeguard whatever is in the market today unless they have already gone through trainings about what is the technology of today. So technology keeps changing, and that's why we need new minds, fresh minds, to be able to get hands-on experience on what is happening in the market and the technology that is being used, so that they can have that insight on how to protect such platforms. So as I've already said, this privacy is one of the key areas which you need to safeguard. And another thing which I can talk about is the online safety, as I've already hinted. Maybe be it your email, you need to be having knowledge and skill on maybe some of the key areas of a phishing email. You need to be having some skill on maybe what else? Maybe how does a hacker, maybe how does a system that is being hacked behave like? Maybe WhatsApp is being hacked. How does it behave? Maybe Twitter is being hacked. How does it behave? Maybe what are the vulnerabilities which might expose you to this kind of a breach? So for personal security, we have talked about three main areas. We have talked about identity theft. The reason why we need to understand well about cybersecurity is to ensure that at least our personal identity is well safeguarded, be it online, be it physical. We are ensuring that maybe whoever is accessing whatever device that belongs to you and it holds personal data, that data is well protected. Another area which we have already talked about is privacy breaches. And I've said that nobody should be able to access your privacy details, even your confidential details, as I've already given an example of a clinical disease. And another thing which I've talked about is maybe your online safety. Wherever you are accessing your online platforms, cybersecurity ensures that you are safeguarded in those platforms. So those are the three key areas which we we go through when we are talking about this area of personal security. And another thing which as well I can talk about now is the professional security. When you want to advance your skills in the cybersecurity arena, there are some key areas which we are going to have a deeper dive into, and we are going to be able to know how to protect these areas. So different organizations, they have different kinds of data, be it maybe their brand, maybe brand copyright. They might be having some private data that should never be exposed to the public. And for that kind of data, they need some people who should be just entitled, maybe tasked to ensure that that data is safe, to ensure that that information is kept confidential at all times. So these kind of organizations, they're looking people are like you to be able to safeguard the environment. So for you to be ready for this kind of environment as well, you need to have the right skills in the room so that you can be able to identify and respond to this kind of incidents at the right and maybe in the right approach. So, and one thing, even as we continue, I can mention is that cybersecurity is one of the areas which requires prompt action. Prompt action, I mean, it is one of the areas whereby if an incident has happened maybe 1 minute ago, as a cybersecurity expert, you should be able to identify that incident as early as possible. So the reason why you need to identify this kind of incident as early as possible is that you might be able to respond to it as early as possible to ensure that nothing, maybe there is no extensive breach of maybe your personal data. If somebody has access to your maybe your WhatsApp account, you should ensure that it's not going to be able to go through maybe your all chat. Maybe it can go through your relatives, maybe kind of platforms to ensure that you understand your background very well. You can go through maybe your school platforms to be able to know maybe your personal data, like your grading system, your grades and everything. So for you to be able to safeguard against this kind of incidents, cybersecurity experts should ensure that it responds at the right time to protect against these data breaches. So one thing I've already mentioned is that professionals, the reason why we are studying cybersecurity, we are enriching ourselves to be professionals who should be able to protect data for different organizations. And another thing why organizations they're looking for cybersecurity experts is for business continuity. The reason why we are having this point is that cybersecurity incidents can disrupt business operations, causing significant downtime and even loss of productivity. And even at the advanced levels, they can be able to ask for ransomware. That's loss of revenue. When it comes to cybersecurity attacks, it results into a broader range of maybe a broader range of consequences. You can either lose your personal data, you can be asked for a ransom for whatever's held, or for whatever has been held by the hackers, and even your company might even come to a collapse. So different companies, they're looking for experts, at least they safeguard against this business against they safeguard their business continuity. Another thing, the last thing I can talk about, maybe professional arena, is that for governments, they have put in a law which ensures that every organization has a cybersecurity expert in the room, at least to ensure that there is that assurance of safety. You know, if you have employees, if there is a company which has employees, about 5 of them, even 2 employees, even 1, that company is required by the government to have measures in place to ensure that their data is being safeguarded. Maybe these employees' data is being safeguarded, and nobody is accessing it without prior consent of the data owner. So different organizations as well, they are looking for experts to be able to ensure that they are compliant with the government. So with all these points, I'm just saying that we are needing many cybersecurity experts in the market today. different organizations, they're looking for experts to be able to safeguard whatever they have in place. Now, as I wrap up on that area of the impact that cybersecurity has on personal and even professional career, is that personal and professional security are intertwined. These two can't be separated, as I'd already said. You need your security, you need the security of the whoever you're working for. So these two go hand in hand. With cyber threats posing risks to individuals and organizations alike, then we need this kind of knowledge to be able to safeguard against them. By raising awareness, practicing good cyber hygiene, and implementing robust security measures, individuals and organizations can mitigate the risk of cyber attacks and protect themselves against evolving personal and professional security. That is on how to safeguard data and maybe whatever digital resources they have. So without any doubt, there is need of cybersecurity experts. There is need of educated individuals who can be able to protect us from this kind of issues. Now, the other thing which I like us now to dive into, and I believe I'm moving at the right pace, and if there is any question, there is any guidance, my moderator, you can let me know. So the other thing which I'm going as well to tackle on is threats and vulnerabilities. And this kind of understanding is to give us a glimpse of what is happening in the market. This just to give us some knowledge on what we expect in the market. And if you have never been in a cybersecurity class, then this is one of the key areas which, when you're going to get into this kind of a class, you're going to get into to understand. So in cybersecurity, you can't talk about cybersecurity without talking about threats and vulnerabilities. So threats, these are malicious actors or events that can exploit weaknesses in the system to cause harm. Anything that gets into a system and disrupts the normal operation of a system, that is a threat to that resource. So cybersecurity, it ensures that these threats are kept at bay, and these threats, they are not able to compromise any resource that is within an organization or any resource that is within personal devices. And another thing which I can be able to as well explain about is about vulnerabilities. And I can say that vulnerabilities, these are weak points which expose you to cyber attacks. And these kind of weak points, they are in different ways. Maybe I've already talked about the password. If your password is weak, then you're going to get exposed. And maybe the physical protection of your devices. If maybe you leave your phone maybe in a room, and maybe if you're accessing public Wi-Fi, somebody can be able to hack into that public Wi-Fi and be able to loop back to your device. And maybe another vulnerability which I can talk about is maybe the common one for that is happening in different organizations, is that maybe there is insider risks which happen whereby maybe an employee has access to maybe the server room, and maybe he manages to compromise those servers. That is by having physical entries into these kind of rooms. This also can cause that kind of a risk. And maybe even online platforms, if you don't have good protection technologies in place, like firewalls, like maybe your endpoint protections, maybe your digital data sitting maybe in the cloud or on-prem, it can be compromised, and this can cause a risk. So without proper protection and proper measures in place to safeguard this kind of devices and resources, we are going to have vulnerabilities which expose us to this risk. So two things, as I've already said, in when you're talking about threats and vulnerabilities, threats are actions or actors who, when they access a system, they cause a disruption of the normal operation. And the meaning of vulnerabilities, it means this is a weak points which expose us to hackers and maybe to harmful resources in an environment. So in cybersecurity, as I dive deeper into it, and I want you maybe to take note of these key areas. We are not going to be an expert without knowing the main areas which hackers they're using as they attack you. Maybe now the key areas which I'm going to touch on is different kinds of the threats which we have, and I can talk about the different types of malwares which we are exposed to, and one is about the viruses, and the other one, the viruses, and this kind of malware is whereby uh, there is compromised, maybe there is a compromised system, a compromised data which is sitting maybe in the cloud or on a certain device. Now, a virus, it is this kind of infected data which is being spread out within a wider scale, maybe within an organization. Maybe it gets in through one computer, and maybe through the local area network, it can be able to spread out within an organization. So we say that this kind of data, it can be able to affect even other devices, because a virus keeps going around, it keeps biologically modifying itself, and it can be able to affect even other systems within an organization. And I can say that cyber criminals attack the internet. They have already used this kind of threat to attack different kinds of environments, and it is one of the key areas which, as cyber experts, we need to get more skills into, and we need to safeguard against. So this kind of attack, it replicates itself, and it can be able to spread out very fast within an environment. The other thing which the second example which I can talk about is about the worms. Worms, these are a type of maybe softwares, maybe a type of data which it keeps replicating itself. When it is spreading, it spreads by replicating itself. It maybe starts by one, then maybe once it gets into the second computer, it has multiplied to 5 infected maybe data. Then once it gets into the third computer, it can be even 15. So this worm, it keeps modifying itself. That's why we say that maybe if you take the biological kind of interpretation, those worms, they keep replicating. Maybe wherever there is one worm, the next time you come, you might find many of them. So in cybersecurity, this is kind of a threat which keeps replicating itself, and it can affect multiple devices within a very short time by replicating and getting into many resources within an environment. Then another thing which I can be able to touch on, it is what we call a Trojan, which is a software which comes in by disguising itself. Maybe a software which comes in by pretending that it's not what it is. Now, I can talk about maybe you are installing maybe a Windows application to your computer, and when you're installing it, it comes with a certain executable code, which, yes, it is a Windows application which you are downloading. But it comes in with an extra executable code, which is to download another illicit software into your computer. So Trojans, they disguise themselves to be what they aren't. They can look to be good, but when they get into an environment, they can be able to to affect your environment. So this is something that as well has happened in the environment, and it continues to be one of the threats which cybersecurity experts should be aware of. So when we are talking about threats and vulnerabilities, I've already said that threats, I've given 3 examples. Threats, they are classified in terms of the levels of the malware types. And we can talk about the viruses, we can talk about the worms, and we can talk about the Trojans. There are many which we were to look at, but because of our limited time, we might stop there so that at least you can have deeper research in your personal time. At least you look deeper into what are the type of malwares which we have in different in the cybersecurity arena. Now, another thing which I can talk about where we get now vulnerabilities in different environments is on the area of email attachments. Now, when we are talking about email attachments, we are talking about maybe you have received an email from, maybe if you are employed, you have received an email from your accountant. If you are in college, you have received an email from maybe your registrar or maybe your class rep, whoever it is. You can receive an email which it looks genuine before your eyes, and we are going to have an hands-on, on this kind of vulnerability. It looks so genuine that you feel like you want to respond to it. And these emails, in a way, they always seem to be sent from a suspicious sender. Maybe this sender, you have questions about the sender. Maybe if your accountant was called John, maybe it can come with a John which is as double N, and maybe the other letters may be the same, because the hacker wants to be as close as to whoever is pretending to be. So these kind of phishing emails, they come in when maybe you receive an email which you are suspecting the sender. The other thing which you need to, which happens when with these suspicious mails, it is that there is an urgent tone. Maybe this kind of a sender is telling you, maybe we need an action within 5 hours or 10 hours. This is an action which needs a prompt response. Now, these hackers want you to respond so fast before you realize that this was a compromise. So these kind of phishing emails as well, they have a characteristics of urgent tone. They want something to be done as quick as possible. Then there is as well generic greetings. Generic greetings, I mean, maybe you're receiving an email with a generalized term like maybe dear Jen, dear Vanessa, dear Purity, kind of a generic kind of greeting whereby it's generalized. Maybe somebody can say dear sir. There's somebody who doesn't really know you exactly who you are, but there are those who are advanced and they know even your name, because they have already access to your account, and they're trying to use that knowledge to be able to get your attention. So be ready for those generic greetings. Then, in a way, there might be some typo errors, that is grammatical errors within the emails, but this is not common. In a few emails, there might be such a typo error. And maybe where it comes to a typo error, it comes to maybe your company is called, maybe which other name can I say? Maybe your company is called Safi, and maybe they come with a double F, and your company is maybe a single F. So I think this kind of emails, they in a way have something that looks almost like what you're expecting, but a little bit tweaked to be able to have some grammatical errors within it. Then there is as well, in other emails, they can promise you a reward. Maybe they tell you, maybe when you're going to respond within 10 hours, we are going to receive maybe a voucher, you are going to receive maybe a certain reward. So this kind of phishing emails, it is one of the vulnerabilities which is being exploited lately and in most environments. And if we don't get proper knowledge on it, it can cause, we can be victims. We can be able to get into the hands of the hackers. So phishing emails is one of the vulnerabilities which as well we can be able to talk about today. And then another thing which I can be able as well to touch on is on maybe suspicious websites. Maybe now you have been sent a mail, and this mail is requiring you to access a certain website, maybe, and we're going to have this practically so that you're able to understand deeper into it. Is that maybe I've sent you an email, and this email requires an action of maybe you accessing your bank account, your online through your mobile banking. You want to access your bank account. Maybe you want to access one of the main things about Kenyans, about the Kenyan environment, is that we have the Uduma kind of Uduma, the e-citizen account, the portal which gives us access to most of the government services. So it maybe tells you need to access this kind of page so that you might be able to access the government portal. And this page, it might away look somehow suspicious in a way that maybe in top of it, or on your top right of that screen, maybe when you're accessing the page, you might see there is a padlock which is mostly there. And for you to be sure of a trusted website, there must be that padlock should be able to be locked. At least it gives you that assurity that this website is genuine. And if it is an issue, or maybe the website is it doesn't have a genuine certificate, then as well the website will flag you that this website is a little bit is not a trusted website. So there are some key areas which you need to be looking into to whichever website we access, and that's why these skills about cybersecurity, they're essential to give us that hands-on experience on how to identify these kind of risks in our environment. Now, before we get into the demo as well, I can talk about another area which exposes us to cybersecurity risks is about there is what we call social engineering. Social engineering is an act of an hacker doing more research about you. The hacker might have always been going through your online platforms to understand who you are, maybe your age group. He wants as well to understand maybe your full names. As well, he might be able to understand maybe what is maybe your preference when it comes to maybe be it the social life, be it the physical life, be it what you like most, be it maybe your privacy details, maybe your best clothing, maybe your best meal. And now the hacker, once he has prior message about maybe information about you, then he's going to direct those things which you prefer mostly. Maybe if you like movies, you'll use an email which has maybe a link to a certain movie which is coming up, and most of the people we can be looking at the recent movies. So he can send something that you might prefer. If you are a fashionist, he might send you something that it looks like the latest kind of fashion that we are having. If you are a fan of football, he will use that kind of the sports arena to be able to send an email to you. So the social engineering is an act of understanding who who is the person to be attacked. That is who is the victim who is going to be attacked, and knowing all about his information, so that I'm going now to use the information as hacker to be able to get into this person. If I know what you like, if I know all your names, if I know even your relatives, if I know even maybe where you stay, if I know even maybe your company where you work, I can be able to use this information to be able to for treatment. So you can ask such kind of tricks. You can use such kind of tricks to get your trust, so that it can exploit you by asking for something that you may give without prior consent. So when we are talking about threats and vulnerabilities, first of all, a quick recap. We have talked about the area of threats, whereby we have said we have different malwares. That is, we have viruses, we have worms, we have Trojans, and we have said these things, they can attack you wherever you are storing your data, be it in the local disk, be it in the cloud, be it wherever the data is sitting. These kind of attacks can be able to reach you there. And we have talked about also vulnerabilities, and we have said that vulnerabilities, they can happen in different ways. In maybe the resources we use, like the email, somebody can be able to send you an email which is compromised to get you to access different websites, to get you to give your personal details, to get you to give your privacy to them. Another thing which I've said is that one of, again, vulnerabilities which expose us is the websites which we access to. Some websites are replicas, and maybe they are not really replicas, but they are websites which are mirrored to reflect what it is not. So that maybe when you're accessing these websites, you might feel it is genuine, but when we are putting in your data, these people, they are taking your data and they are storing it to use it to access your personal accounts without your consent. So the other thing as well, which you have talked about, the vulnerabilities, is that we have social engineering, whereby the hackers, they're using this trick to get more information about you, who you are, and what you like mostly, so that they can be able to get into your personal environment and infringe you and breach your personal information with your trust. First of all, social engineering requires you to trust them. Once you have trusted them, then they can be able to compromise you. That's when the picture which is there, you see somebody maybe double crossing his fingers. That's why we say somebody looks genuine, but at the back of it, is doing something that is not acceptable. So now it is a moment. Now we go into some brief session of hands-on. I want to an hands-on exercise on phishing emails. Now, on this hands-on experience, this could have really been very practical in maybe sessions where we have maybe physical sessions, but in this online platform, I know each one of us is accessing this meeting through a device. Maybe you are going to follow with me as I take you through this kind of an email, and we're going to reflect back. You remember when I was talking about the area of phishing emails, the main characteristics of a phishing email? Those are the main things we are going to identify in this kind of an email. We're going to identify maybe if there is a suspicious sender. Do we know the sender? Do we have the consent? Do we have some prior information about the sender? Then another thing we're going to check for is maybe if there is an urgent tone in that email. Another thing which you're going to look for is maybe if there is a generic greeting, a generalized greeting. Then another thing as well we are going to look about is if there is any grammatical errors within the email, and if there is any any promise, any reward being offered at the end of the email. So I think if you allow me, I'm going to shift my presentation modes so that at least we get to see that. Just a minute, so I get it. Let me share now another screen so that we can be able to see it. So for this kind of hands-on exercise, I'd prepared a different email. Actually, one of the rules of cybersecurity is that we are not supposed to share any kind of malware, and kind of maybe if this is a phishing email, if it is a kind of maybe a cybersecurity risk about cybersecurity, a phishing email, maybe it has some critical security issues, we are not supposed to share it. But I'm going to use my screen to share something that I want us to learn from the email. So access, let me share this. I believe now we are there. You can be able to see my screen. I've used one of this email. I created it purposely for this kind of meeting so that we get to understand how does a phishing email look like and what do we expect when we are seeing a phishing email. So for a phishing email, first of all, I created this to be able to demonstrate on this kind of phishing email. And I've used some characters here so that at least we get to understand what we are talking about. So first of all, the email is, I hope you can see it. It is, I sent it from my email to this kind of an email, to this demo email. Now, the email title, if you can go with me on the email title, here it is. It says that there is urgent, the subject is urgent action required. Your e-citizen account update. So I use e-citizen because most of us, we have access to it, and most of those in Kenya, we have access to e-citizen account. So I used e-citizen as the best example for our hands-on experience today. So there is that subject of urgent action is required. Whoever is reading an email, the first thing that will pop up, maybe it is your screen, the first thing that will pop up, it will tell you maybe there is an urgent action that is required from this kind of an email. I didn't want to replicate an email from maybe eCitizen, try to create an email that looks like eCitizen, but hackers, they have enough time to do that. So this email would have been from maybe ecitizen.gmail.com, maybe .co.com. It was to be looking like a genuine email, but it will be having some suspicious request in it. So the first thing that you can identify, it is about the subject. How is the subject? Is it requiring some immediate action? Is it requiring some immediate attention? Like now the email which you have before us, it requires an immediate action. Urgent action required, your e-citizen account update. So basically, when you read about this, it requires you to, immediately your mind clicks, I need to access my e-citizen account. I need to, click on any button which I see that requires an update. So the next thing when we go, so I've said the email, in this instance, the email is from a legitimate person, but in different instances, it will come from an illegitimate person. Maybe somebody who is, maybe if it was e-citizen account, you will see somebody maybe fin.ecitizen at maybe e-citizen, you'll see fin at ecitizen.co.com. So it would like to look like an organization email. It would like to look like a government maybe kind of email so that you can have that trust of it. So the next line item we can look on is maybe the person greets you maybe, dear sir. In this case, I use dear Finn, but somebody greets you, dear sir. And even dear Finn, somebody can know even your name and maybe say dear Finn. So sometimes for you to first flag out a legitimate phishing email, first of all, you can check how is the greetings. If it is a greeting that is the saying, dear sir, dear madam, that is, first of all, that should give you some red flag on whoever on that kind of an email. So in this instance, yes, we're using dear Finn, but this again can give you a red flag because first of all, we have seen the urgent action needed. Then we're looking on the other part, which is dear Finn. Sometimes if it is a level of salutation to a friend, then you need to be sure of how is your friend salute. What is the salutation from a friend to a friend? What is the salutation from an official person? What is the kind of an official and informal and formal kind of salutation? So the email says the email is to inform you that your eCitizen account has been flagged for suspicious activity. To ensure the security of your account will require you to verify your information immediately. So they are telling you of something that is that can be genuine. Maybe they're telling you maybe somebody tried to access your account and maybe tried to do what? Tried to, if it's your eCitizen account, maybe tried to register a company. Maybe in this instance, they're telling us that there is a suspicious activity that has happened. It needs your immediate action by logging in and maybe giving some doing some action. Now, see on this action, they tell you, please click the link below to verify your account. So the first thing they require you for a phishing email, the other thing that you need to take care of is what kind of action are they requesting from you? Is it that they are sending a link which you need to click on and be able to access another page? Is it that they are maybe requiring you in the email to respond back with your maybe your personal details? You know, personal details, they can be maybe your ID number, it can be maybe your date of birth, it can be maybe your full names, it can maybe your, if you're in school, it can be maybe your current institution. If it is maybe your financial account, it can tell you to respond back with your credit card number. So all these private details, if an email is requesting for such kind of details, be sure that that is a kind of a phishing email, because it wants you to respond back with some private details, which most of the financial institutions, or maybe the legitimate institutions, they don't actually request from most of the time. So if you see such kind of an email which is requesting for such kind of details, like your date of birth, your credit card, your personal data, kindly ensure that you take more, you be much more keen to go through whatever that email is requesting for. So for this instance, they're telling us to click on the link so that we go to a citizen account. Then another thing which again they are telling us is, if you do not verify your account within 24 hours, your account will be temporarily suspended. So what this saying is that they're giving us an area whereby they're giving us a timeline that for you to be able to continue enjoying the services of eCitizen, then at least you need to be able to take that action within a specified time frame. Then another thing, which even as I go through the email, kindly in the chat box, be able to note down, maybe you respond back to which maybe the subject, what kind of uh, characteristic of a phishing email does it entail? Maybe from the salutation, what kind of characteristics does it entail for a phishing email? Maybe now from the kind of action they are requesting, what are they touching for the characteristics of a phishing email? Then at the end of it, they're saying they're providing now evidence. Yes, some details about the suspicious activity. Maybe they're giving you even they're giving you an IP address of maybe what device accessed you try to access your personal data. Yeah, try to access, maybe try to do their suspicious activity. So as much as possible, these hackers, they'll try to give you more evidence that this action happens. But now it is your work to ensure that you have the skills on how to identify a phishing email. Now, they'll say that maybe they'll try to be humane and tell you, maybe, we apologize for any inconvenience this may cause, and they'll tell you, maybe they'll end by giving you maybe a name, and maybe they'll try to attach it to, e-citizen administration. So basically, now for this email, what I want us to identify is the characteristics of a phishing email. And for this instance, allow me to get back to this email. I'm not seeing any chat. Great. There it is. So I'm seeing some responses. And now let me see, is anybody can give us some characteristics? You can text in the chat box. In the subject, what kind of characteristics of a phishing email do we see there? In that area of the subject. Now, if I can take you back, there's some key areas which we were to take note when we were talking about a phishing email. You have to look on the area of the salutation. How is the salutation? Is it generalized? Is it generic? We as well to look on the area of the actions needed. Is it an urgent action? Then we are supposed to look on maybe what are the requirements. Maybe if they're telling you to respond back with your personal details, what do they need with these personal details? What kind of personal details are they needing you to respond back with? So it is, I don't see any comments on the chat, but I believe you can hear me, and now we can just proceed. This is a kind of a phishing email which you need to be aware of, and we should be able to safeguard against at all times. So I don't know if there is any question about this kind of an email. If we were to have a physical presentation, then we were to be able to go through the entire assessment of this kind of a phishing email more comprehensively. But for this kind of setup, I believe we have already gotten some knowledge on how a phishing email would look like. Now, allow me now to get back to our presentation. So we have done a brief session on how we need to identify key phishing emails and what kind of areas we need to be aware of so that we might be informed of these phishing emails. Now, the other thing which now allow me to get comment, any clarification you need. I believe the chat box is open. You can be able to send it in. Now, this session, we are going to move into a more, a very interesting session of understanding now what careers do we have in cybersecurity, which careers are more promising when it comes to the job market, and how we can be able to now be able to prepare ourselves to precisely get into this job market. I think the screen is coming up. You bear with me. Okay, great. I think it is up. Okay, I think it should be up. There it is. Now with me a minute, even as we continue. I need to be sure. Great. So we can proceed. So now, after talking about the hands-on exercise on identifying phishing emails, so when we want to be equipped well with this kind of an environment, then we need to be ready to ensure that we can be able to identify a phishing email. And I think from this presentation today, if I can send an email to you, you can be able to identify what type of an email is it, and whether it is genuine or it is having any suspiciousness in it. Now, I'm going to just proceed to another scope of cybersecurity landscape. And in this scope, we are going to see different areas which, as cybersecurity experts, we can be able to get into. And I can say that in this, we'll dive into different critical fields. And in this cybersecurity environment, some people say that maybe jobs are nowadays jobs are not there. Everything, we are complaining about the environment and everything. But one thing that I would like to tell you is that we need to discover our skills and our interests so that we can best work towards whatever is best for us. So for cybersecurity experts, I can assure you that in today's environment, there are many opportunities that we have. And for you, you can be able to venture into diverse opportunities which you can pick your choice and you can be able to specialize in it. So cybersecurity landscape of late is booming. Cybersecurity business is booming, be it in Africa, be it even worldwide. It is a business that is booming. That's why we have many IT companies setting up and they're dealing with cybersecurity, solutions. And I can say that this is a rapidly growing field, and it is driven by the ever increasing reliance on technology and constant evolution of cyber threats. So one example I can say is that if you can check on the financial institutions, all of them, they are going mobile banking. And due to this demand of going mobile banking, there is a need for somebody to ensure that there isn't any compromise for such kind of data. So that's where we have this kind of cybersecurity experts and cybersecurity careers to give us more light on what career path we need to choose, and now what part of it is more oriented to our traits, more oriented to our preference, and we can be able to specialize in it and give us an edge in the market. So in the first part of our presentation, before we did the demo, we were talking about understanding what is cybersecurity, understanding what cybersecurity entails, understanding the vulnerabilities, understanding the threats. Now it is a moment to understand that these kind of issues that we are having in the first part of our presentation, there are different career paths which we have in the job market, which can be able to handle such kind of threats and risks. Now, to start with, I can say in the environment we have the area of network security. Now, in the cybersecurity landscape, there is an area whereby we have to ensure that our networks are safeguarded. And in this area, we are securing computer networks and devices from unauthorized access, intrusion, and malicious activity. So just stay tuned. In the next, I think, slide, we're going to touch on now the key, the attached names for this kind of people are going to help us ensure that network security is maintained, and maybe now the career to choose within this kind of cybersecurity environment. So for one thing that we can be able to touch on the cybersecurity landscape is on for cybersecurity network, for a network security engineer, he needs to understand both the networking part of it and the part of ensuring that this kind of a network is well secured. Another part of the landscape which I want to talk about is the application security. Now, in this current place, we have many applications coming up, many organizations are going, they're using applications. We are running from the era of maybe the systems and everything, because applications are much more faster, they're much more, there is much more flawless connectivity when it comes to applications. So many organizations, they have applications and they can be locally hosted, maybe on-prem, and or they can be, hosted in the cloud. So there is need of cybersecurity professionals who can be able to protect these kind of applications, be it in the cloud or be it on-prem. So basically what I'm saying is that building and maintaining secure application to protect against vulnerabilities needs a well-equipped cybersecurity professional. Another thing I can talk about, maybe another part of cybersecurity, another part of technology which needs security is about cloud security. Now, cloud, I can briefly explain that cloud, it is the resources which you are accessing remotely. Maybe now when we are using maybe Google Meet, it is Google Meet. Yes, you have an application that is sitting maybe in your computer, or you're accessing the application through the web page. This means that this application is being hosted in a certain server, and this server, you're accessing it through the internet, and the internet now it is the cloud. So this server is stored in a certain place. So through this connectivity, maybe you have the internet connectivity. The internet providers, they give us access to this kind of a resource through a wide area network. So what they ensure is that they have connectivity from one side to another, and through that connection, we can be able to access the information that's sitting on another server, which is sitting maybe in Europe or even in other places which are not close to us. So for this kind of information that we are accessing remotely, there should be a specialized person who should ensure that there is security when you are connecting to this kind of environment. So we need a specific person who can be able to ensure that your connectivity to the cloud is well protected, your identity and the resources which you are accessing, they are well protected. Nobody should compromise those kind of data that is sitting in the cloud. And that's why even I think nowadays we are coming up with data centers, because most organizations, yes, initially we are talking about having an on-prem data center, but nowadays we are talking about having co-hosted, maybe a collaboration, we call it a co-location, kind of data center, whereby be it a place which is set aside, a company which is set aside, that can be able to host several servers which are for different information security. Now, the government lately, it requires that there is always the act of data protection. Data protection, it is to ensure that information that is being stored locally and maybe in the cloud is well protected from any compromise. So we need some special professionals who will be able to safeguard this kind of information. We need specific professionals who can be able to just, they are sitting there to ensure that whatever is being transmitted, the traffic that is moving from one device to another is well protected, and the information that is passing through having maybe a box sitting there, a firewall sitting there, maybe you're not having a VPN connecting you, so you're accessing the resource through a cloud. This cloud is protected, so you access the cloud that is back to your resource. So what happens is that we need information security whereby the text, there's a plain text to a cipher text, which is a text which cannot be read by an authorized person. For you to access this cipher text, you need to be having a key. Be it now we are talking about the public and the private key, the symmetric and asymmetric kind of algorithms. So without talking much deeper into what cryptography entails, now when we are talking about cryptography, we are giving an indication that we need some experts who shall be able to dig deeper into the algorithms. Different algorithms are being developed now and again, but I think mostly currently we're using some algorithms which were developed maybe in the early 2000, maybe in the late about 2000, actually early 2000s. There are some key algorithms which were developed and we are using them even up to date. So we need some cryptography professionals who can be able to develop algorithms which can be used to safeguard different data. So you cannot safeguard any data without ensuring that it is unreadable. So if I'm transferring something that's confidential from maybe from my end to your end, I need to ensure that once it's being transmitted is well protected from any compromise. That's why initially now there are some people, maybe when we are having the old times wars, maybe a king will send maybe some information through a plain text whereby he says maybe it is a letter which can't be read. He will shift letters. Maybe he will say if it is Samson, he will be shifting letters to the right by 3. Maybe it will be a different kind of name, but once it reaches the recipient will do. Now the part of the encryption is when you are changing the plain text into a cipher text, and now you will decrypt when it gets to the end. You will be able to change that cipher text into the plain text through the key which you have received from the person when encrypted the text. So I can say these are areas which you can be able to pick one and be able to specialize in it. And I can say that in cybersecurity, the main part which you need to take care of, be able to specialize. Do not generalize. If you're doing something, do it to the best level. So for you to be highly considered for this kind of environments, kindly ensure that you have you have deeper knowledge into it, you have specialized in it, and you do it best. Ensure that you are doing it the best. So specializing is the key. Choose either cryptography, choose either network security, choose either network forensics, choose either which other thing that did we talk about? Choose either security operations, choose either cloud security. There are very many different options that we have. Choose either application security, and all these opportunities you'll be able to find a fit in the job market. Now, the next as well interesting part of it is now, whom do you want to be? Whom do you want to be? Now, in this area, we are talking about key names of professionals whom we have in the market. Now we have security analysts. The work of these security analysts, they're professionals who monitor networks and systems for suspicious activity. Their work is to sit there, they monitor the flow of traffic within a system, maybe a network, and they can be able to detect any suspicious activity. So an analyst is taking the current information of a system, analyzing based on prior information of what kind of characteristic, maybe what characteristics of suspicious activity are they detecting in the system. So an analyst, his work is to sit there, be able to monitor a network and be able to detect any suspicious activity, analyze it, and identify maybe the potential threats which such activity will cause. Then another point we have a professional in security engineering, and security engineering entails, this is the work of designing. Designing means you need maybe an organization needs to ensure they are well catered for their cybersecurity environment. You need to come up with a design of how this kind of an environment should look like. So in an organization, there are different IT IT resources to be protected. Maybe they can be IT or OT. OT, we are talking about the kind of devices which are not directly connecting maybe to the core networking side of view. So we are talking about maybe the OT environment can entail maybe the fridges, maybe if they're using fridges, they can entail maybe the air conditioners and everything. So for the IT environment, they can entail maybe the desktops, they can entail maybe the servers. So there is that a person who should be able to come up with the design on how this organization will be able to safeguard against threats. So what they do is that they go down, they analyze, they get understanding of how the organization looks like, and they come up with a proposed design of how this organization will be able to safeguard their critical details. And they can come up with a proposal whereby they can tell you maybe you need a firewall. This firewall should be of this size. Maybe you need an endpoint security. This endpoint security should be able to cover this kind of assets. Maybe you need an OT security. So they'll be able to analyze the entire environment and give you a specific need that you want to identify. And this is my area of specialization. Actually, we identify an organization, we go there, we do assessment, and we come up with a detailed structure of what kind of security you need to take care of. So first of all, we need all the information about the organization, be it the architectural design, be it the inventory about the devices, maybe the assets within an organization. Once we have all that in place, I can be able to tell you out of the devices which you have, this is the best alternative to take. So that's the work of a security engineer. And then it does the part of implementation. So after I've proposed, I've given you, and I've maybe supported by doing a demo, doing a POC, I've placed it, and you have liked that kind of an environment, we do an implementation. So if it is a firewall which I'm deploying, I can come to an environment, be able to configure that firewall so that whatever traffic that is flowing through a network, it is going through a firewall. The work of the firewall is to analyze the traffic that is going through. So the firewall, it is a gate. Now through this gate, it analyzes which kind of traffic is going through, and it allows only the allowed traffic, that's the legitimate traffic. So configuration means that I'm going to policies which are going to ensure that only the legitimate traffic is flowing through. So in this area of cybersecurity engineering, you are going to understand on how to implement, configure, these kind of solutions to different environments. And we have, for you to take note, we have different security solutions. We have maybe the IT side of it and the OT side of it, as I had already mentioned. And in the IT side of it, we can be having the firewall side of it and the endpoint side of it. So the firewall, it ensures that any traffic that is coming in is well secured, and the endpoint side, it ensures that maybe your local device, be it your personal, the data that is just at rest, it is well protected. Nobody's coming from outside and doing any, maybe we call it DLP now, that's data loss, whereby you protecting the data that's sitting maybe at rest. You can have an agent that is sitting on a computer to protect that. So that is the work of a security engineer, to give you the best fit solution that can be able to manage your environment, as well as maintaining security controls to safeguard systems and data. So the main two areas of a cybersecurity engineer is to ensure that there is a design, a complete extensive design of the security of an organization, as well as he ensures that there's a proper implementation of that kind of solution. Now, the next kind of a very interesting career which you can pick to be an hacker. And hacker doesn't mean that you need to be. We have different kind of hackers. The red hat hackers. We have the white, the gray hackers. We have different kind of hackers, and we have hackers who ensure that we are protected. Hacking doesn't mean that you are doing only for the illegal part. Hacking can be either you are exposing the vulnerabilities which you are having within an organization, and you want us to safeguard it for the future. So hacking is also one of the areas which you can specialize in, and this will be able to give you we call them penetration testing. Penetration means that they try to get into an environment which has already been protected, and the way they want to get in is through maybe illegal ways. Maybe they want to get through the school portal. Maybe they want to access it without permission. Maybe they want to use to get access to administrative rights so that they can be able to post something on maybe a school portal. Maybe somebody like that who wants to hack and be able to do something that's illegal. That is the work of an hacker. Now, the ethical hacker is to expose. Now, once an ethical hacker has hacked the system and he has had access to it, maybe he has done what he was aiming to do. Maybe he has compromised some file, and maybe he has encrypted some file, and the hacking is successful. Now he'll come out to expose what has happened, and now this the engineers will come together and come up with the new ideas on how to better protect that kind of an environment. So better algorithms, again, cryptography comes in. You can be able to get proper engineering to be able to safeguard those vulnerabilities which are exposed. So you can pick as well. Ethical hacking is one of the booming, career path which you can be able to take. Now, another area which I can talk about is for security architect, and this somehow it is related to the security engineers. And these architects, they oversee the overall security posture of an organization. So first of all, when I was talking about the security engineer, he's the one who designs, is the one who implements a security environment. Now, cybersecurity security architects, these ones, they oversee the entire organization's posture of security, and as well, they can be able to design as well as implement secure systems. So their work for an architect is to ensure that whatever is being proposed from the cybersecurity engineering team, it is up to standard, it is up to task. It is when I was talking about the SOC team. So for this kind of a career path, you are going to be, sitting in a certain room, and what you'll be able to do is that you are given you have access to a computer, and you have access to the network, the backend network. That is, you can be able to see how traffic is flowing within a network, and you can be able now to be taught on how to identify, maybe if there is a risk, you can be able to identify this kind of a character is suspected to be a threat, and you can be able to respond to it. You can be given some guidelines on how you can go to respond to an incident. And the other thing you can be able to do as well, you can be able to help an organization recover from an incident. So there are some key 3 areas for a security incident responder. He sits, maybe the first thing is that he detects an incident, responds to an incident, and recovers from an incident. And this is security. Incident responder is part of the SOC team. SOC team, the work is to identify and respond to different incidents within an organization. And now, once you have maybe gone through, you have enough experience, you have broader knowledge of the different, categories of cybersecurity careers, you can be a consultant. We are not tied to be employees to maybe different people. You can be a consultant. You can employ yourself and say that, no, I need to employ myself. I need to start advising people now they need to design their architecture. I need to advise people now to design their security infrastructure. I need to advise people now they can be able to achieve, to develop proper algorithms for cryptography. I need to advise people now. I need to train SOC teams. Maybe you can set up your company. You'll be able to be training SOC teams. You'll be able to train them on different solutions which we have. So if I can give you a hint of how the environment for security looks like, we have solutions which enable us to protect different environments, and this from different vendors. So if I can give an example of maybe which one is common, maybe for firewalls, you can say we have maybe FortiGate. Now, when we are talking about a firewall, we mean that there is a solution which has been developed to help you be able to protect against security breaches. So the consultant, the work is to maybe now train this SOC team on how to use this kind of devices to achieve security within an organization. So this is an expert. Generally, they are experts in all areas, so they can be able to advise you on what to take. But again, you can be a consultant in a specific, a cybersecurity area. You can be a consultant for cryptography. Whoever wants to come up with a private algorithm, you can be able to advise, and you can be able to, approve it to be used for different people. So for sure, consulting is one of the areas which is being used. For small companies, they don't want to hire a cybersecurity engineer. They want to hire somebody who can be able to be of help. Maybe once in a year, they can be able to get some advice, and once they have implemented, then they're done with their work. So they don't need a full-time employee to be able to be monitoring their small environment. So cybersecurity consulting is one of the careers which you can look forward to enter into. And as well, as I already mentioned, cryptographer. As well, you can be an algorithm guy. You're good, and I think this area requires some people, some competent knowledge in maths, because this deals with algorithms. So if you are very good in this kind of area, you can be a cryptographer, whereby you are coming up with algorithms to be able to cipher plain texts, and you can be able to help organizations have their private algorithms patterns, which they can use to be able to safeguard their private data. So in these different scenarios, I can say that you can pick one area which you are feeling strong in it. You can't be so strong in all the areas. You can be a good person in maths. If you're a good person in maths, I highly recommend you to be a cryptographer. Cryptography, there are very few people who deal about it. There are very few people who can be able to handle it. So developing this kind of algorithms, it is one of the key components of ensuring security. So being a cryptographer is one of the top paying career points when it comes to cybersecurity. And even, the other areas they're well paying, I can assure you that because if a bank can be compromised and billions can be lost, for sure they'll pay you highly so that you can safeguard the environment. Be assured of a good pay when you are competent in what you can be able to do for an organization. So a quick wrap up for career path. We have different areas. We have cybersecurity analysts, we have cybersecurity engineers, we have cybersecurity architects. And now maybe a brief explanation for the recap is that if you want to be an analyst, know that your work will entail, looking into a network, identifying the traffic and classifying it and ensuring that only the legitimate ones is going through the traffic. Now, being an engineer, as I already said, you can be able to design, implement different kind of security solutions, and this one cuts across as well for the security architects, who does almost the similar role. Then as well, we have the incident responders. This one is a SOC team which sits somewhere. They respond to incidents. They identify, they respond, and they recover from incidents. So as well, you can be, an hacker, a ethical hacker. Your hacking skills, you're using them to expose vulnerabilities for different organizations. And in the market where I have been for my career growth, people are looking for experts who can do penetration testing, who can expose their weak points. People are looking for people to do that. So it is one of the key areas. If you are good and competent in ethical hacking, then you are good in exploring this career. And I can say for those people who are, I can say, how do I call them? Maybe they are curious of maybe things. Ethical hacking can be one of the areas which you can venture into, maybe because just your curiosity, you want to see if I use this kind of algorithm, how is it going to behave? If I'm going to use this kind of password, how is it going to behave? So ethical hacking as well, you can go to venture into it. And maybe, as I already said, consulting, why not? It is a good career. You can set up your company, consult with other organizations which need your help. Then a cryptographer, you can be if you are very competent in cryptography, is one of the booming job opportunities in the market. Now, as I'm almost wrapping up my discussion, I just want to do a quick recap for the second part of our presentation, about navigating the career path. Now, in the first place, we looked on the opportunities that we have. We said we have application security that is needed. We have cloud security that is needed. We said we have maybe security operations, which we need the incident, the SOC teams to handle. We said as well we need the network security, and I've already talked about security analysts who should be able to help us in that. Again, which other one? Which other one? I think if you remember one, you can be typing on the chat. Which other one were we touching on? So we talked about network security, application security, cloud security, information security, security operations. You need to detect, respond, and recover. We have digital forensics. So digital forensics, I can tell you, if you are good in digital forensics as well, you can fit in. There is a part of the part of the architects and security engineers. To some extent, it incorporates the work of forensics. So you need to analyze the logs so that once you are designing a security infrastructure, you give the best in the room security infrastructure. So the second part of it, a quick recap, we have said that you can choose within several career paths. You can be either a security engineer, you can be maybe a security analyst, you can be maybe a incident responder, that is a incident responder, that is a SOC team. You can be part of that. You can be an ethical hacker who can be doing penetration testing. You can be a cryptographer, and I've already said and emphasized that is one of the areas you can venture into if you are good in maths, because it deals with algorithms. Then another area which as well I can mention, it is consulting. You want to develop your own company and you want to advance your career path in cybersecurity, that is a good venture. You can be able to set up your company. You can be consulting for different areas of cybersecurity. And now there are some key points which I want to give you when you want to choose for a cybersecurity career. First thing, you need to consider your interests and skills. Be sure of who you are. First of all, understand who you are and what you want to achieve with your career. So consider your interests and skills. Once you are set and know what you really want and what is your capabilities, then you can be able to pick well on which career to move into. The next part of it, what are you passionate about? What do you want to be doing now and again? Do you want to be doing, solving mathematical problems and again, cryptography, the right approach? If you want to be, you are very keen in terms of all things that you do, security analyst is a good role for you. You can be able to be sitting there analyzing a network, be able to identify any critical errors within it. If you are very good maybe in curiosity, you are coming up with new ideas and again, ethical hacking can be the best fit. You can be able to go in there and be able to come up with ways wherever you can expose those weak points. So first of all, understand what are you passionate about? What can you do without being tired until you're exhausted completely? What can you do? What can you wake up and you enjoy doing even if you're tired? What keeps your lights going? So first of all, identify what you're passionate about. Then one thing again I want to mention, identify your analytical skills if you want to join the analyst team. Are you detail oriented? Do you enjoy problem solving? So if you are one of these persons who enjoy solving different problems, you are detail oriented, security analysts is a good fit. Then do you have a strong understanding of technology and network? Now, if you want to pick any career in cybersecurity, first of all, you need to love technology. There's no way you can be a professional in cybersecurity without loving technology. First of all, you need to be loving technology. Do you like how things keep changing daily? Because as a cybersecurity engineer, I have to be updated daily of what is happening in the market. I need to be knowing which solutions are coming up. As already said, even now we are having cloud security solutions. Initially, we were talking about having a box within your environment so that it can safeguard you. Nowadays, we are talking about cloud security. So you need to be up to date. So for you to be up to date of what you are doing best, you need to love it. Do you love technology? Do you love networks? Which one do you love? The other question which you need to ask yourself, are you creative and enjoy thinking outside the box? This one is very best for the ethical hackers. Ethical hackers need to think outside the box. you need to think of something that most people don't remember to think about. So if you are that such kind of a person, you are best fit for that kind of a role. I hope you had a pen and a piece of paper. You can write all this so that you can be able to do a self-assessment and be able to identify the best career path which you can be able to take. And I think for the ethical, for the cybersecurity engineers and the cybersecurity architects, then there's some combination of different aspects of skills which you need to have. You need to be detail oriented so that you don't miss anything when you're going to assess an environment. You need to be analytical. You need to be able to identify which best solution is going to fit that kind of environment. You need to have skills on problem solving. Yeah, you need to educate yourself and know, yeah, this kind of a solution is going to be, you can get a very complex kind of an environment. Are you ready to solve that kind of an challenge? And basically, the love of technology that it goes, it cuts across all the career paths. I don't know, to that point, is there any question before I wrap up with giving uh, a brief highlight of a day in the life of a cybersecurity professional? Is there any question? Let me try to see if I've received any question. Okay, somebody can chat in the write in the chat box if you can you see the screen? Okay, I don't know if now the screen can be seen. Somebody to confirm that we are still there. We are still together. Actually, we are now doing a wrap up of our cybersecurity navigating our cybersecurity landscape. Yes, we can. So great, thank you. So in a day in a life of a cybersecurity professional, many people ask this simple question: if I was, a cybersecurity professional, what am I expecting maybe to be doing? What will I be? How will my day be looking like? Now, I will tell you maybe when you are, I can start with a cybersecurity engineer. Now, a cybersecurity engineer or an architect. Now, to give you a practical example of my current kind of work which I do, I'm tasked with different assignments within my organization because I'm supposed to ensure that we have designed competent solutions for different clients. So first of all, when I start my day, I need to, set up the tasks right. I need to have a notebook whereby I can write what I need to do for that day. Do I have any pending designs which I need to do for cybersecurity solutions? Do I have uh, any pending, task from the previous day? So after I've set out the tasks for the day, then if it is a solution which I'm developing, then I can be able to sit down, be able to do a complete design. And this, you can be using different tools to do these complete designs. So you can be able to be coming up with tables, to be coming up with diagrams, which can be showing how this environment will be looking like. And another thing which you need to be aware of is that even before you can move to the stage of doing the designs, then you need to be doing assessments of different environments. So before you can do a design, first of all, you will be able to have an assessment of different environments. And the way you do assessment is that you need to go there, understand how the infrastructure looks like. You need to have the architectural design of the infrastructure, and you need to know where is what device. So you need to understand what the inventory, and this inventory entails the devices which they are running within the environment. You need to understand where they are. And now, once you have the complete knowledge of how the organization looks like in terms of the devices and the connectivity, then you are going to sit down and come up with a design of how you're going to implement your security measures. So if it is a firewall, you say that this is the kind of architecture which we have for the client, and this way I'm going to put my firewall so that it can be able to protect this kind of environment, so that wherever the traffic is coming in, it can be able to monitor everything. And for those experts in the room, we can say that that's at the main switch, maybe the core switch, at least you need to be ensuring that you have a protection over there so that whatever is coming in, whatever is going out, is well scanned before it goes through. Now, the other part of a day for cybersecurity engineer, as well as Ada already said, you can get implementation requirements. So after you have designed a solution, the second thing you need to defend it before a client. Maybe if you have a client, if you are employed by an organization and you don't have a client, maybe the client is now your organization, you need to present it. So you have to present what you have designed. So in my day, I need to have a presentation to be able to showcase what I've developed and how is it going to achieve the ultimate security of an organization. Then the next part of it, I think I can mention, is that once the solution has been accepted, sometimes you need to do some amendments. So once we are done with all this, then you need to move the stage of implementation. So the part of implementation, it means that you are going to take this designed environment to the client, to the actual usage. So if it is implementation, maybe deployment of a firewall, then you are going to take that firewall, deploy it, configure it, set policies, and ensure that it's up and running. So in a day of a cybersecurity engineer, you need to ensure that the deployment is well done, and everything is sorted with the client and the system is up and running. And another thing which I can say, that in a day you need as well to ensure that whatever you have deployed, there is post support which you need to offer, be it your organization or be it another client. You need to ensure that whatever you have deployed is running even if you are not there. So it is post support service which cybersecurity engineers do. If you receive an incident, maybe a firewall is not working the way it should work, then you need to be able to support it. You need to go there, do check on the configuration, check if there is something that's not working, check on the logs, and be able to identify where the problem is. So another area which I can talk about in now my life as a cybersecurity engineer, I can say that now there's the aspect now of the aspect of ensuring now that maybe if it is now my organization which has deployed a solution, I need to be coming up with new architectures. I need to be coming up with new ideas on how I can be able to implement better architectural designs, which can be up to date on what is the current technology. So for me, in a day's time, I need to set aside some time so that I can educate myself on what is the recent technologies which are in the market. So at least set some time during a day, be able to go through a document or a material to educate myself on the recent technologies. Then another thing which I can as well talk about is maybe if you have a team within your environment as a cybersecurity engineer or a designer, you need as well to be able to educate your team. So at least you need to have some time within a day to be able to, perhaps in the afternoon, mostly it's done in the afternoon, to take them through your team, tell them this is how the designs look like. This is at least educate the team of the new systems which you have in place. Now, another point as well which I can talk about is, sometimes sorry, I think you lost the slides. So as well, you can touch on maybe the area of you can be able to support. Sometimes I've been asked to support maybe the security SOC teams in identifying the risks, and as well, sometimes you can be able to be required to do awareness, maybe a security training for the entire organization. You can educate them on cybersecurity. So I've talked about analysis, training the entire team. You can as well do incident response drills, whereby you gather your team, you help them, led by the incident response team, to do some drills for the same. Now, in a day's work, once you are done, you can now, maybe for me, I do a checklist again. I do go back, look back on the incident response drills, and what I need to prepare for the next day. So from at the of the EOD, then you need to be informed of the incident response drills, and you need to be informed of the incident response team, which is the team which is responsible for the incident response. So at the end of the day, you need to be informed of the incident response team, which is the team which is responsible for the incident response. So at the end of the day, you need to be informed of the incident response team, which is the team which is responsible for the incident response. So at the end of the day, you need to be informed of the incident response team, which is the team which is responsible for the incident response. So at the end of the day, you need to be informed of the incident response team, which is the team which is responsible for the incident response. So at the end of the day, you need to be informed of the incident response team, which is the team which is responsible for the incident response. So at the end of the day, you need to be informed of the incident response team, which is the team which is responsible for the incident response. So at the end of the day, you need to be informed of the incident response team, which is the team which is responsible for the incident response. So at the looks like, and there will be some from Monday to Friday. These are role which you can perform even virtually. You can be able to do all this from your home. Nowadays, people are giving, the compulsory days to be in the office. Maybe they can be 2 days per week. So you have 3 days working from home, and you can be able to be doing all your things from wherever you are. So I can say that this is a flexible kind of environment, which if you choose it, then you can be choosing freedom even as you move forward. The other thing, even as I wrap up, I think my time is over, is that once you're going to choose this career path, be assured of your job security. And so long as you keep yourself updated, if you remain where you are without growth, then I promise you are going to be laid off. But if you remain informed of the daily changes in the technology, then you're going to be up to date. And to that point, I think that is my wrap up. And I like to say that for the second part of our presentation was to give us a glimpse of the career paths which we have. You can choose one depending on your capabilities. That is from the personalities and what you like most. What are your characteristics? What's your behavior? You can choose the one which is best for you. Thanks to each one of you, and appreciate you for joining this call today. We have gone through a lot of content, but I believe we have noted something down. And from this call, if somebody asks you about what is cybersecurity, you can go to explain about it. If somebody asks you what are the pillars of cybersecurity, you can be able to mention something. And when it comes to maybe suspecting, maybe talking about the threats and the vulnerabilities, then you can be able to tell somebody about what kind of threats we have, maybe the viruses, the trojans, and the worms. You can as well talk about the vulnerabilities from the website, the emails, and even maybe the social engineering as well. When we come to the career path, the landscape for cybersecurity, now you can talk about the security, your career path being a cybersecurity engineer, maybe an architect, maybe an analyst, maybe a cryptographer, maybe an incident responder, maybe an ethical hacker. All these careers, they're here for us. And by picking one and specializing in it, we can together safeguard and secure our future. To that point, I think that's my wrap up. And once again, thank you each one for joining for this presentation. I believe we have gained enough knowledge on how we can tackle the current environment of cyber security. Thank you. Back to you, our moderator.
Okay, thank you so much, Samson. Thank you for that engaging session. I hope, especially with regards to phishing emails, that all of you are able to pay attention. And the good thing is, if you missed something or something happened from your end and you were not able to fully focus in that period, the session is available on YouTube. Just the same link that you joined in, you'll be able to follow through. Thank you so much, Samson, for your advice, for your time, and for your willingness to share the information with us. I don't know if you answered the question from Kiara, where they asked where or which university or rather college can you encourage one to apply for. Sorry.
Oh, great, great. Thank you. I think this is one of the areas which I would have wished to have some time to talk about. It is good you choose wisely on what career you want to take into. And for the institutions, I can recommend you to join. Okay, I can't give you okay, we have universities, and in Kenya, I can say, okay, we have JKUAT as the leading one in technology. It's most preferred in the market. But I can tell you, this one, going to JKUAT doesn't give you that surety that you're going to receive a job, but having the skills. Now the skills, you can choose between different offerings in the environment. You can choose from Cisco. You can choose from different cybersecurity vendors. You can choose from maybe there is some courses from we can talk about the ethical hacking courses, which you can do maybe from these colleges in town. You can there is one college I think I'm aware of in town. It is called Computer Pride. You can go there, register for a course maybe during your sessions. And these ones, actually, Computer Pride, they give you access to maybe even Moringa School. They can give you, can study online from Moringa School. And I think Moringa School is one of the colleges which is leading now when it comes to technology, when it comes to the colleges which I've heard of mostly when it comes to the best skilled professionals. Moringa School won't go without a mention in all the cybersecurity experts. So Moringa School, if you can register a course there, do it online, you can be able to get that assurity that people are going to accept you in the jobs which you are going to apply for. So first of all, I recommend that you choose a career path. If you want cybersecurity, first thing which I forgot to mention, pick one cybersecurity course which you want to take, be it CISP, be it it is called, this one is, there is CCNA and CCNP. CCNP is one of the areas which touches on security when it comes from Cisco. As well, if you're choosing cybersecurity, ensure that at least you have one programming language, just one programming language which you can specialize in, and ensure that you have some knowledge on networking. So three main things. If you want to be a good cybersecurity expert, have some knowledge on networking. Choose either CCNA, choose either CCNP. There are different courses from which you can choose from, and be good in networking. And as well, I can say for programming, choose between Java, Python. Just pick one which you can be able to use when it comes to security. I don't know if I've answered the question of choosing an institution. I can end by saying Moringa School is one of the best. Actually, it's the best in Kenya when it comes to technology and maybe these areas of cybersecurity.
Okay. Yeah, and if you feel like financial constraints are making it hard for you, I believe they also have a financial, what do they call it, like they give you partial scholarships, financial aid programs. There are also platforms like LinkedIn Learning. There are platforms like Coursera, Udemy, which are maybe affordable, which also share this information in a structured way, and you can be able to maximize on those areas. And also, we will be in Moringa School on Saturday. So if you don't know where Moringa School is, or you want a reason to come to Moringa School, and see where it's located, come on Saturday. And they actually also have an open day on that same Saturday. So it's going to be a good day for you to not only join us, to also know from the other side. Somebody has asked if you're going to give certificates. I think we are going to reach out to each and every one of you, and whoever feels they want a certificate for attending the event, we can make that available. There's no problem with that. But Samson, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for doing this willingly. We will have an afternoon session from 2. So you can go take a break, have some lunch, and then you can come in and for the afternoon session, where we are going to be getting introduced to capture the flag challenges. I think those are things which are important in the cybersecurity space, especially in terms of preparing you for job interviews. So come and know, if you have never heard of capture the flag, come and know what they are. And we are going to be introduced by a pen tester all the way from South Sudan, who is working for the, I think, the national council, something security, one of those security boards, the national ones in South Sudan. So yeah, we will meet at 2 p.m. So remember, everything that you want, even the afternoon session, you will access it just via our YouTube channel, and you can be able to find this recording. It's streamed live. And also the afternoon session, just join us via the YouTube channel, and we have even sent more information on your email, so that you can be able to just have a smooth transition into the afternoon session. So have a nice lunchtime or lunch break. We will meet at 2 p.m. Take care of yourself. Thank you, Samson. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.